Hey guys, welcome to the She Knows Arsenal match preview for Arsenal versus Olympiacos in the Europa League. We are live. Hey guys, how are you doing today? We're going to be doing a match preview for our game against Olympiacos. So I don't know, if you're in the chat box, let me know how you're feeling today. It's still morning for me, so it's morning time, but I'm sure wherever you are, it's probably afternoon. So just let me know how your day's kind of going, if you can hear me well, and if you're still buzzing after the North London Derby. I think we're going to be living off of that for a while. Let me just silence my phone really quick. Okay. Hi, Velvishwan. No silliness in the chat box today, Velvishwan. You were doing a madness the other day. I know you're a Liverpool fan, but, let us live. Let us live. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So I think just to get started, we're going to talk about the press conference before we get into, score predictions and predicted lineup, because I think that the press conference was a little bit revealing in regard to who may or may not play in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me one sec. All right. Let me know if you guys can see that well. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So in this press conference, Arteta spoke about Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Aubameyang. So, he talked about, we did score the 3 away goals, so we look like favorites to move on, but we do need to be careful and make sure that we don't, shoot ourselves in the foot. On the latest team news, everyone is more or less okay. We have a few doubts, but hopefully everyone will be involved in the squad. I think that, that kind of applies to Bukayo Saka, maybe even Emil Smith-Rowe. He did run quite a bit in the last game, and, so we'll see about that. He did talk about how it's a good time for, other players to get some minutes. There's still another 90 minutes at least to play for, and we know it's going to be tough and everybody has to be ready. So I think one of the best things that Arteta has done in these last couple of weeks has made it really important for the entire squad, to be involved. I think in the past, what we've seen is that there's been a real emphasis on the starting 11 and maybe one or two other players, but I think Arteta has made it his business to keep the entire squad engaged and feeling important, because we're going to need every single person from now until the end of the season. He did speak about Martinelli. We can take a little bit of time talking about that. For me, the Martinelli situation is one that has been overblown. And I think to a certain extent, because he's so highly regarded in the Arsenal fan base as somebody that, was a catalyst for us last season. He was very good, a spark for us. And he was also a spark when, it was around Christmas time and Arteta was really struggling. My thing with Martinelli is that we have to remember that this is a player that is coming off of a terrible injury, an injury that in most cases you don't get to full strength before like 18 months. So we have to give him the time to get physically ready to play. And Martinelli is a high octane type of player. Like the type of Martinelli that we love is pressing, running up and down the pitch, really aggressive. And the only way that he can play that way is if he's 100% physically fit and ready to play. And I get the argument about, well, he's clearly ready because he's on the bench, but just because you're on the bench doesn't mean that you can play a full 90 or should be starting. So in a game where we don't really need Martinelli to come on to score or to change the game, maybe it is better to just put in a Willian and let him just close out the game versus risking Martinelli unnecessarily. I also think that we have to remember that Martinelli is a player that's come from the 4th division in Brazil. Going from that type of league to the Premier League is a huge step up. I get that he played well last season, but the way that we played last season was completely different than the way that we're playing now. Arteta has really implemented his system at this point, and the last couple times that Martinelli played, although he had great energy, he didn't seem like he had, in my eyes, really gotten the tactics, if that makes sense. In the Manchester United game, he was, out of position quite a few times, losing the ball unnecessarily. He did that really good, goal saving heading clearance from Rashford, but really it was because he was out of position. So this may not be what you guys want to hear, but for me, I'm not really worried about Martinelli coming off of an injury, not immediately coming into these games, because we have Saka, Pepe, Emil Smith-Rowe, who can play out wide, and Willian that's been playing decently. So do we need Martinelli right now? I don't think so. And Arteta said, on why Martinelli hasn't been playing, he said, if anything, it's his fault because he's done everything perfect. He trains incredibly well every day. His attitude cannot be any better. He is disappointed he's not playing more, obviously, and he has spoken to him, but he needs to be a little bit more patient. He's had some minutes. He's had some games as well. And it's true the competition for front positions is very tough, but he needs to be patient and he will get his chance. I believe this to be true for Martinelli and Pepe. And in our post-match show that we did a couple of days ago after the North London derby, I did say that I believe that Martinelli and Pepe, their season is going to be next season when certain players, are not so, leaned upon, in a season where we're really under the cosh now. We really don't have, the wiggle room to be, I think Arteta's trying to go with stability and players that he can rely on versus Martinelli, who's still trying to learn what position is his best, coming off of a hard injury and trying to learn tactics, and we don't want to put him in a position where maybe he's not playing well and the fans, start to criticize him, because we're good at that. If he's not playing well, we will start to criticize him, even though we beg for him to play. So I believe Arteta is doing the right thing here. He did talk about Aubameyang as well. He said everything is resolved and really positive, in a positive way, so we move forward. You guys let me know in the comments how you felt about Aubameyang being late, to the North London derby, and whether you thought Arteta was right in him dropping him. I think that, if we think about it from a holistic, perspective, it couldn't have went better for Arteta. He could have dropped Aubameyang and had to bring him on because we weren't doing well, or, he would have been blamed if we had not won the North London derby. But whether we won or not, I personally think Arteta did the right thing in terms of making sure that the rules that are set for everybody. I know some people believe that, the rules should be applied based on the level in which the player is. Like, young players should be treated a certain way and senior players should be treated a different way, especially if they're really important to the team. But personally, I think everybody should be treated the same. And if you discipline the captain, then everybody else will follow suit. He talked about whether Aubameyang will be able to come back into the team. And he said, no, everybody has to obviously perform at the highest level to earn their place in the team. And there's no exception there. And we will try to put a really competitive team out tomorrow to try to win again. So there's no guarantee on whether Aubameyang will come straight back into this team. He spoke about Emil Smith-Rowe and, maybe he needs some rest. He talked about Emil Smith-Rowe obviously running his socks off in the North London derby, but his priority is to win the next two games, which is our game against Olympiacos and West Ham, which are going to be two really difficult games. I don't think we can completely just rotate this side too much, because we've seen in the past that sometimes when we rotate maybe too much, we lose a lot. And the last thing we want to do is give up an early goal against Olympiacos and then capitulate. When we saw we were up 2-1 and up a man against Tottenham, and we didn't seem confident there, so I think maybe that'll stick in Arteta's mind and he'll go with a stronger lineup than maybe we would anticipate for a game that seems, or a tie that seems like it's already kind of done. He spoke about Bukayo Saka. He basically said that he's doing another test and he did feel something muscular, but he's been much, much better, and they've both been really well. So they'll make a decision this afternoon on what they'll do. So not sure if I personally I would not risk Bukayo Saka for this game. I would let him rest. I think this niggle or this injury has been on the cards for a while. So I would rather see him against West Ham if that's possible versus playing him in a game that we should be able to get over the line because we do have somebody like Pepe. But we'll talk about, my predicted lineup in a couple minutes. This is somebody who we spent quite a bit of time talking about in this press conference, and that's Martin Odegaard. There's been a lot of conversation of late whether this is a player that we would try to bring in permanently. I think that he's a perfect fit for us and gives us the perfect balance in the midfield that we've been looking for. And now that we've kind of seen that Emile Smith-Rowe and Martin Odegaard can play together, I think that releases some of the anxiety of feeling like, Emile would probably be getting the short end of the stick here. But there's something about Odegaard and his quality that I think is something that we need to get in our squad. He has obvious quality on the ball. He has vision that none of our other players really have. And that's something that we need to take advantage of. Sorry, you guys. But yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. This is so unprofessional. But I think that Martin Odegaard is somebody that I would like to see come in permanently. What do you guys think about Martin Odegaard coming in permanently? So he talked about how he's been scoring goals and he's not surprised that he's playing so well and that he's been very professional and very dedicated and he leads by example. He's been getting better and better. He thinks his understanding of what we want is excellent. His work rate has been phenomenal, which is something that I thought was very underrated in the North London derby. And then he's doing something that, in his opinion, could improve a lot, which is getting an opponent's box and maybe being more decisive on the scoreline. Yeah, I think, he still continued to talk about him and talked about how he's now the Norway captain and things like that. But I think this is a player that we have to get, signed on permanently. What do you guys think about that? Let's get into some of your comments. Straight Shooter says, hey, Jess, or hello, Jess. Thank you for stopping in. Computer Boy 97 says, hello, Jess. Hey to you too. Velvishwan says, it's going to be a 1-1 draw. I don't see Arsenal putting out a fully strong 11. We'll see. RJ says, big up. Big up to you as well. Mohammed Chowdhury says, hope Martinelli gets some minutes tomorrow. We can talk about that in a second. JB says, big up, Jess. Looking hella fine as usual. Thank you for the compliment. Velvishwan says, sup, JB. Oh, I'm getting confused because my name is Jessica Black, so I guess JB is the other JB, not me. Vlasanak says, Arteta was right, even if it was a gamble. Now it's over and we can move on. That's how to handle that kind of stuff. I agree 110%. Mohammed Chowdhury says signing Odegaard should be priority. I agree. And Vlasanak says, yes, bring Odegaard in. I'm a little worried about the price, though. For me, I think that if he tells here's the thing, is that when you decided to keep Arteta, when you decided to hire him first, you're going to have to back him. I don't think that he would have left Manchester City without some sort of guarantees. Things haven't gone our way, but I think because things haven't gone our way, we actually have to lean more into Arteta now this summer more than ever. And that means that the ownership is going to have to invest. If Arteta says that, if I want to make one big signing this summer, it needs to be Martin Odegaard, they need to get him that player. Will that probably affect our ability to invest in other positions? Probably. I do think that the midfield will be improved by one position, not two, based on kind of where we are and the financial situation and things like that. But with Martin Odegaard, I think if he asks the Cronkies to invest in this player, I think that they'll give it to him because we need to invest in this squad. JB says Atleti could do a madness. Suarez loves to bite Chelsea players. JB also says Odegaard has scored some big goals recently. Yes, he has. So let's go ahead and jump into the predicted lineup. Let's change the formation. Obviously, we play a 4-2-3-1. All right. Goalkeeper, I think just kind of based on Leno's form lately and how he looks a little bit stressed out playing out of the back. And, there's been some talk about the goalkeeper situation and the coaches and that type of thing. I think that just kind of based on his form and some of the mistakes that have come lately, I think I would honestly give him a rest. I think I would bring in Matt Ryan for this game. I don't even know if he's in here. Let me see. He's not even in here, you guys. Let me see if I can find him. How annoying is that? There it is, Matthew Ryan. I think I'd bring in Matt Ryan. If you guys could disagree with me if you want, but I think based on kind of how shaky Leno has looked playing out of the back and, just maybe he just needs a mental break for this game. And I don't necessarily feel like bringing in a decent backup goalkeeper would be a big deal in this game. Start off with the right back. Cedric played, Bellerin didn't. But part of me feels like I would play Bellerin in this game. He played well against Olympiacos last game, so I'd probably play him there, but I have some reservations about playing him on the right-hand side with Pepe, who is kind of who I want to play on the right-hand side of the attack, but we'll see. Let's move over to right-sided center back. In this position, I'm going to play Rob Holding. And I'm just going to go ahead and put him with his partner here in Pablo Marie. I would give both David Luiz and Gabriel a rest. I think this is perfectly fine to go ahead and rotate these players. And actually, I'm going to make a change here. I'm going to play Chambers here. For one, I think people need to see Chambers play so that we can sell him in the summer. And the more I think about it, the less I want to put Callum Chambers with Nicola Pepe, who I want to put at right mid. Rob Holding, like I said, can come back in. He hasn't played in a while since his concussion, so I'd like to see him in this game. And Pablo Marie, him and Pablo Marie play well together. At left back, I think Tierney just has to go ahead and play again. We don't have a true backup, and I don't think I would play Cedric there. I think just go ahead and play Tierney. Let's see what you guys are saying. Velvishwan, no, he will not go to Liverpool. Akash says, I agree, Leno needs a break, hasn't looked 100%. I do think he needs a break. I would bring in Matty Ryan. Velvishwan says, run Arson in goal. It's all about the vibes. Okay, great, thanks. Carl Locke says Chambers at center back. I'm actually going to put him at right back. Harry says, I think we'll see Hector Bellerin in the Europa much more and Cedric mainly in the Premier League. That's a good shout. I think Cedric looked really good against the Spurs, so we'll see. But I think I would put Chambers here at right back for some reason. Mohammed Chowdhury says Ryan played well against Villa. Would definitely like to see him play more. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that on his Arsenal debut, his highlight was really getting scored on by Villa, but that goal really wasn't his fault at all. And I did think after that he looked really, really good. Akash says Chambers at right back. I agree. I agree with this. So how do we rest Tierney then? How do we rest Tierney? If we want to rest Tierney, then I would say play Cedric at left back. Do you guys think Cedric should play at left back so that Tierney could rest? I think Tierney is kind of one of those players that we're going to play him until he breaks down. He's so integral to everything that we do, and I just don't see him getting a rest in this game. Yep, give some minutes to Ryan. Will Abba play or be rested for the Liverpool game? Well, don't we play West Ham first? I got confused for a second. I think we play West Ham first, then Liverpool. Okay. So I'm going to keep it like this. This is my predicted lineup. I don't think Kieran Tierney's going to get a rest in this game for some reason. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Xhaka will play this game. I don't think he'll get a rest. He never does. And if he's fit, he plays. And I think he'll play next to El Neni. I think Arteta hinted at El Neni playing this game. He spoke in the press conference. And he's been talking about how much he's been shooting and all that kind of stuff. And I think, Thomas looked really tired towards the end of that game in the North London derby. So I'm going to put Mohamed El Neni next to Granit Xhaka here. What do you guys think? Mohamed Chowdhury says, scratch Odegaard back up to Tierney is priority. I don't know about that. I think Cedric can play left back if need. So I think Odegaard is the most important player to bring in the summer. Lingard, you know what you need to do against Arsenal. The Emirates is not his dance floor. I'm sorry. And, I'm not too worried about this West Ham game, to be honest. So, yeah, I do think Granit Xhaka is going to play. I do think El Neni is going to play. I don't see Ceballos coming in this game. I just don't. I think Granit Xhaka will play again. So the cam position, I do think that Odegaard will play again. The reason for that is because I think Emile Smith-Rowe ran his legs off against Spurs. So I'm actually going to put Odegaard in here. Yeah, just to keep some continuity and give Emile Smith-Rowe a rest. I already hinted at it that I think Nicola Pepe will play on the right-hand side. So it might be better to have Callum Chambers there and not Bellerin because they don't play well together, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bellerin played. I think at left mid, you guys, I don't think Martinelli's going to play in this game because I think Aubameyang will play. I think he will start in this game, and I just don't see it. If Aubameyang starts, then I know Martinelli won't play because Arteta rarely plays them together. I think Willian will play, and I think Aubameyang will start up top. What do you guys think? Do you think Aubameyang will start? I think just a show of good faith that this whole being late thing is over. Aubameyang will start, and he'll start with Willian and Pepe. I think he's hinting at Martinelli not being ready, needing to just wait his turn. I just cannot see him starting in this game either, even though I know we want to see him play. What are you guys thinking? Velvishwan says Willian and Kedia and Nelson up top. I don't think so. JB says Thierry Henry made some very interesting comments on Sky Sports on Monday. What did he say? Carl Locke says Pepe and Tierney would be lethal on the left side. Yes, they would. But I think what we're seeing is that Arteta likes the inverted winger I think he likes a right-footed player on the left-hand side and a left-footed player on the right-hand side. So as good as I think Pepe, like you even remember that when we played against Southampton, Pepe played on the left when Cedric was over there because Cedric is right-footed. So I think that William will play. So let's say if Tierney is rested and Cedric plays on the left, then Pepe may play on the left. You know what I mean? So I think he likes that balance there. JB says, Jess, is Henry your favorite Arsenal player of all time? No, he's not. My favorite Arsenal player of all time is a combination of Patrick Vieira and Gilberto Silva. Those two are my favorites, and probably just right behind is probably Robert Pires. As much as I love Henry, of course, I love everybody that was in that team, but to me, I love Vieira so much, and Gilberto is the player that I used to try to be like when I played. Mohamed Chowdhury says Aubameyang to start, hopefully Martinelli as a sub. Yeah, let's put the game away, and then Martinelli will probably go ahead and play after that. Belvashwan says, does Arteta rate Martinelli? I think he does. I don't think any of the comments that he's come out with recently would suggest anything other than the fact that he rates him. It's a narrative that's growing because there's a part of the fan base, in my opinion, that just wants there to be some sort of drama to be upset about. A 19-year-old from the fourth tier of Brazil coming off of a big injury that usually takes you almost 2 years to get right from. It doesn't really seem like that far-fetched to me that he would probably take a while to get into the squad. Ruthless Gunner TV says, good morning from Sydney, Australia. Good morning. JB says, Henry said Arsenal need to start better and have more belief that they can win. Yeah, that comes with time, though. That comes with time, and confidence grows over time when you get the results, So hopefully the result at the North London Derby and some of these come-behind wins will spur Arsenal on a little bit more. Belvashwan says, Henry said no. Henry said Naldini, Phillips, and Virgil van Kabak are world-class. I'm not sure about that. So do you guys agree with my lineup, my predicted lineup, or not? Let me know in the comment section or in the chat box whether or not you agree with this. I think Matty Ryan will start in goal. Callum Chambers will play right back. Holding will play right-sided center back. Marie will play left-sided center back. Tierney will play left back. El Neni will play next to Xhaka in the midfield pivot. Odegaard will play number 10. Pepe will play on the right. William will play on the left. And Aubameyang will start at center forward. All right, so let me just stop sharing my screen real quick. All right, you guys. So let's just go through some of your comments. If you guys have any questions, feel free, to ask me any questions, or if there's something else that you guys would like to talk about, let me know. Ruthless Gunner TV says, I believe we will end up signing Odegaard. I think he will push a move. I think that he will want to push a move just because he feels so at home here. He looks really happy. And I think at this point in his career, he wants to find somewhere where he feels valued and he can just kind of put some roots down. It's important for a player like him to go ahead and just be somewhere and be solidified and feel like he can just kind of relax and focus on his career. And I do think that if Arteta goes to the board and says, this is the player that I want to sign, this is going to be our big money signing of the summer, he'll get it. Velvashwan says Smith Rowe for Odegaard. I think Odegaard is needed for West Ham. Why do you say that? Why do you think Odegaard would be a better fit against West Ham? Just curious. Ruthless Gunner TV says, I think he'll start a stronger team than that. So who do you think is going to start in that's different than what I chose? Philosophex says, yes, I expect something similar. Hopefully Martinelli gets some minutes, but the online outrage about him not playing is ridiculous. For me, it's just whoever's not playing is the stick that's used to beat Arteta to me. When Pepe wasn't playing, it was Pepe. Now it's Martinelli. Why is it a big deal? Like, should he be playing over Pepe? No. Should he be playing over Saka? No. Should he be playing over Aubameyang? No. Should he be playing over Willian? That's probably the only maybe, but when he had the chance to play over Willian, he didn't play well. And I'm not saying that Martinelli's not a good player. I'm just saying that he may not be ready yet. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think I'd rather see Martinelli be brought in to games when we're ahead, way ahead, and maybe closer to next season when we can start fresh and he has a good preseason under his belt. But right now we're in crunch time. We're at the business end of the season, and we just don't have the wiggle room to have Martinelli out there if he's not physically ready or tactically ready, you know? Carl Locke says we should go all in for Haaland. Laka is getting older and he tends to miss easy chances more frequently now. As much as I would love Haaland, I just think that the competition for him is going to be really stiff. I think Manchester City is in for him. Real Madrid, to a certain extent, is interested in him. He's Manchester United's #1 target. And Chelsea also has the financial backing to make that deal happen. I think with the competition, it's going to be really tough financially. I don't think we can get it done. So as much as I would love to see Haaland at Arsenal, I just don't see it happening. Velvishwan says Odegaard does things quickly and finds pockets of space. Moyes will go attacking, which means more space for Odegaard to exploit. Good point. Good point. Ruthless Schooners. Okay, so this is Ruthless Schooners. His lineup. He says Leno, Tierney, Marie, Louise, and Bellerin, Xhaka, Partey, ESR, or Odegaard, Willian, Aubameyang, and Pepe. So we have the same front line. You kind of went with the same 10. You think Partey will start. The only reason why I don't think Partey will start is because he was out on his feet at the end of that game against Spurs. So I'm just not sure if he's going to get the nod. I'm really not sure. And Bellerin, I could see him coming back in again. I think it's difficult for me to see him and Pepe on the same side because they just don't play well together. But in theory, it makes sense because Bellerin is right-footed and Pepe is left-footed. So I wouldn't be surprised at that. Luis, every once in a while he needs a mental break. He needs that mental break so he doesn't make that mistake. So I would rest him. Velvishwan says Haaland don't want to wake up listening to Europa League music. He only listens to Champions League music. Well, I guess he may not be coming to Liverpool either because you guys aren't a shoe-in for Champions League, I guess, at this point, are you? JB says, do you think Pepe has lived up to his price tag? I mean, living up to a price tag that didn't make sense to begin with? No. I mean, he was never a $72 million player. I don't think most price tags in these modern times are not what the player is actually worth. Like, you know what I mean by that? I think Pepe, probably when we bought him, was probably around a $40 million player. I think this season he's proved to be a much better player than I think he's been talked about as. I think it's been kind of overblown how bad he's been. I think it's just the price tag makes it just, the optics of it makes it a lot worse. So living up to a price tag that was never realistic to begin with, no. And I don't really blame him for that. But I do think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. And he showed that this season. Okay, so Velvishwan thinks that Liverpool is going to win the Champions League. I'm just going to leave that there. Confidence is key, though. Confidence is key. Ruthless Gunner says we can make 5 substitutions. I think it will change players once the game is done and beyond reach for Olympiacos. That's a good point. That is a very good point that maybe he will start really, really strong and then finish the game off. And I think that's really important for this team because we tend to be really nervous when we are in positions of dominance, like being 3-1 up against a team like Olympiacos could be a banana skin for us because we'll be nervous that something bad will happen and the game will turn on its head or the tie will turn on its head. So that's a good point. JD says the market is very inflated these days, especially after the Mbappe and Neymar transfers to PSG. Exactly. I don't think, if you really look at it, like there's a handful of players that are probably worth more than 75 million. A handful, like a handful. So him being worth 72 million was never really realistic, and he was never going to live up to that price tag. So I'm not really worried about him. I think he's shown enough this season to be excited about, especially for Arsenal fans. For rival fans, they'll never accept it. It'll always be used something to banter us with. But for Arsenal fans, I think we can be excited about Pepe in the future. Belvishwan says with Pepe's price tag, he should be getting Salah's numbers, but as a player, he should be getting double digits goals and assists. Yeah, with his price tag, but again, he was never worth 72 million. You know what I mean? He was worth probably closer to 40, so I don't really get tied into that. Ruthless Gunner says, have you heard of Ivan Toney from Brentford? Yes, I have. He has 27 goals and 9 assists. So for this season, he could be possibly a possible Lacazette replacement. I do like Ivan Toney. I think that a lot of Arsenal fans are looking towards Ollie Watkins and thinking that, maybe that's a market that we should kind of tap into. And I think to a certain extent, we should not be so elitist when it comes to looking at, the championship for players. I don't think we should, turn our nose up at it. But I do think that, we have to look at the profile of player and not just the goals that he scores and think, is he the type of player that Arteta is going to want to play as a number 9? I think he wants somebody with the clinical ability or the clinical finishing of Aubameyang, but he also appreciates the buildup and the technical quality per se that Lacazette has, where he can drop deep and connect play. So Ivan Toney to me is a good player, but I'm not sure he would fit in the system. Does that make sense? But I wouldn't turn my nose up at a signing from the championship. Govan says Tottenham are pretty much through to the next round, but as an Arsenal fan, would you rather United get knocked out or AC Milan? Would you not want to face? Who would I not want to face? I'd rather take AC Milan. I think we talked about this on the post-match show. I don't really want to see Spurs or Manchester United, not because I don't think we could beat them, but I just think for my own mental health, it would be better if we didn't play either of those teams. The likelihood of us facing Manchester United or Spurs somewhere in this competition, if we continue to progress, is very, very good. So I think I'll just have to get over it. But if I had a choice between Manchester United or AC Milan, I would take AC Milan without question. I can't handle it. I just can't handle it, you guys. JB asks, or he just says, going into the second leg, Arsenal are in a very strong and comfortable position with 3 away goals. I can't see Olympiacos scoring more than 3 goals. Just not going to happen. I don't see it happening either, but I just think that even looking at us against Spurs, we were in a position of dominance 2-1 up, and they were a man down, and we got really nervous towards the end. And, even against Benfica, none of the goals that they scored were goals that they created themselves. It was more individual errors from us. So for me, as much as I want to say that this is tied up, which I do think it is, I do think that there's a small percentage, a small little chance of us capitulating and making it closer than it should be. I don't think that Olympiacos is going to score enough goals to overtake us, but I think we can mess it up enough to make it so nervous and anxiety ridden, and it shouldn't really be that way. So I would not be surprised if Arteta went with a pretty strong lineup, tried to put it completely out of their reach, and then rested players after that. JB says Dan James came from the championship and he's doing quite well recently for Man United. I mean, I don't rate Dan James, so I think he's just a really fast quick player. I mean, we can't really say he's skillful, can we? But I mean, yeah, I mean, he's an okay player. I think I don't know if you guys watched the Leeds documentary where they showed his transfer that was about to take place again, to go to from Swansea to Leeds, and how it fell apart in those last couple of minutes. It's really a shame that that didn't really go through. I know he's probably happy at Manchester United right now, especially because he's getting minutes, but I think that he would have fit in really well in that Leeds side. Velocinex says Tony is good, but it's still Edouard for me. Hudson is a bit more fitting. I believe this as well. I think if I had to choose between the two, I would still choose Hudson Edouard. But there is the question of whether or not Hudson Edouard can replicate that same type of form in the English Premier League. The Scottish Premier League lacks quality, but I do think that he's a really good player. And if I had to take a risk, take a leap of faith on one versus the other, I would take Hudson Edouard because I think the profile fits more. If that makes sense. JB says Arsenal versus Spurs final, and Harry Kane will end Spurs trophy drought with a controversial penalty in the 89th minute thanks to VAR. I mean, that's like our worst nightmare. I would hate for that to happen. No. Velvet Schwan says, I want to see Rangers versus Arsenal. That, they're a dark horse in this competition. I think Gerrard has done a really good job with them. They look really good. I wouldn't want to see them either, but we're going to have to start playing better teams at some point. So I wouldn't mind us playing against Rangers and seeing how that goes. Velvet Schwan says Dan James is a pace merchant. I agree. Ruthless Gunner says Dan James is meh, headless chicken. I think some of us are in agreement about what kind of player he is. Decent, but I think he'd do really well in a system where he only had a couple of things to do, like more in a Bielsa system, whereas Manchester United really relies on individual brilliance, which isn't really beneficial to somebody like Dan James, who doesn't have a lot of individual skill per se. JB says, I hope Manchester United win the Europa League, but I don't think we will. Oh, so you're a Manchester United fan. Oh, yeah. So you guys need a trophy. You do. I mean, I think that Arsenal really needs the Europa League because we need European competition, and we don't look like we're going to be able to qualify for it through the league. Spurs desperately need a trophy because that's the reason why they brought in Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho is on really high money. And if he doesn't get a trophy, I think that it'll really start, the conversation about what Spurs are really doing. So I think they're desperate for it too. Although they are still in the Carabao Cup, but I think the Europa League is the trophy that will stop people from talking. In regards to Manchester United, I think Ole getting to 3 semifinals, I think it is at this point, and not winning any trophy since he's been at Manchester United. He's been there longer than Arteta's been at Arsenal, longer than Jose Mourinho's been at Spurs. I think you need a trophy more than you guys need to qualify for. I mean, you do need to qualify for Champions League, and I do think you guys will quite easily through the league, but I think you need a trophy. But that being said, I don't think you guys will win it. Mohammed Chowdhury says, would you take Bamford? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take anybody from Leeds, to be honest. Not because I don't think that they're good players, but I think the system that they play in makes them look better individually than what they really are. The only players that I think have a lot of individual quality in that side is probably Rafinha. Rafinha is probably the only player off of Leeds that I would take. Ruthless Gunner says I choose Edouard as well. JB says Saka is a very promising youngster. I think we're past the very promising youngster conversation. I think he was promising last season. I think he's really established himself this season. And yeah, I think we're past the promising part with him. Ruthless Gunner says we would slap up Rangers. They are very vulnerable defensively. I don't know. I don't know. I would maybe I should watch a couple of their games before soon so I can kind of look at them a little bit more. But especially if we have to go against them, it'd be really interesting to see what we do against them. JB says the Man United fan base is so divided right now about Oli. It's not good, like you said, must win a trophy. Yeah, I do. I think with you guys, and I kind of felt the same way about Chelsea, is that there's so much individual quality that it really does paper over the cracks for the manager. I think Lampard was so bad that it didn't work for as long as it's worked for Oli. But I think with a better manager, you guys would be a much better team. I don't see a direction. I think he's just kind of flying by the seat of his pants, and he's smart enough to know that, okay, if I just put a certain amount of protection in front of my back four, then the offense will just kind of work on its own. And to a certain extent, it does. But in terms of like tactical, competency, in-game management and long-term planning, I don't really see that from Manchester United and Ole at this point. So I really think that the quality at this point is good enough to get you, and what he's doing right now is good enough to get you second place, third place in a really bad Premier League season. But when the league improves next season, hopefully, how good is the quality, the individual quality that you guys have in Ole to get you guys closer to Man City? That's kind of where my question is. Oh, and JB, if you didn't have Ole, who would you want as a manager? Because that's also, they're about to give him a new contract. So apparently they're doubling down on him. But who could come in and change Manchester United, in your opinion? Carl Locke says, what do you think about Mariano Diaz as Lacazette's replacement? Honestly, I don't know much about this player. I'll look him up, and maybe we'll do something in the international break. I'm looking for content ideas, so I'm going to write it down right now. International break to talk about striker options, and I'll look at him. How's that sound? Glenn says yes, that I put Ryan in goal. He did as well. So great minds think alike. Maybe he'll be there, maybe he won't. JB says, I can't lie, Auba this season has not been at his best. Last year he was much better. He is the reason you guys won the FA Cup pretty much. Yes and no. He was the reason why. He was a big part of it. Emi Martinez was also a big part of it. I think if Leno's in goal, we don't win the FA Cup. That might be a controversial opinion, but I don't think we win it without Emi either. Every striker goes through goal droughts. I mean, you're a Manchester United fan, so you should know a lot about it, considering I think Martial has 4 goals this season. So it's not unrealistic for a goal scorer to go through a goal drought. It's an unfortunate timing, but he's scored 10 goals in his last 12 games, which is a good goal return for somebody who's had such a poor season. And this is his first goal drought in his entire career, so I'm not too worried about it. But yes, he has been, underperforming, so to speak. Glenn says, do you think Willian will score a goal before the end of the season? Chances out of 10, 2. He's not a goal threat. I don't think he'll score a goal before the end of the season. I'd be shocked. Ronnie says, would you take Sanderberg from Sheffield United as a partner for Partey? So I have mixed feelings about Sanderberg. I think he's the right recruitment direction in terms of looking at Premier League proven players that are on teams that are probably going to go down. Most likely going to go down. Sheffield is going to go down. So looking at a player that we'd be able to acquire without having to break the bank is a good thing. I think he's the right age profile. I think he's about 22, 23 years old. And I like his physical stature. That would give us something different in terms of, set pieces and things of that nature. I think he's a good player, but I'm not quite sold on him. And I think the reason being is he plays in such a bad Sheffield side, not hard to look decent in that side. But I'm just not sure if he's the right profile player to play next to Thomas. I'm not sure about him. It's like on one side, I'm like, he ticks a lot of the boxes, but in terms of his skill sets, I'm not sure if he would be the right fit. Yeah. Is he better than Xhaka? Ask yourself that question, because when we're looking at a partner for Thomas Partey, we're looking for somebody that's better than Xhaka, and I'm not sure that he is. Ruthless says, I think Lampard should manage Celtic and gain some more experience. I don't know what they're going to do with the Celtic position. I think they're looking at Jesse Marsch, the coach of RB Salzburg. I also saw that Chris Wilder is being touted for the job. I think it'd be a little soon after such a horrible breakup from Sheffield this season. Lampard could probably do a job at Celtic. It'd be interesting to see Gerrard versus Lampard in the Scottish Premier League. I don't rate Lampard as a coach, and I think Celtic are in a bad way, and they need somebody with experience to get them back to that number one spot, because this season has been very damaging for them and very embarrassing. So Lampard, I think, I do agree that he needs to gain some experience, but I think he might need to go to a team maybe in the Championship or something like that, where there's not a lot of pressure. I really don't understand why Chelsea would hire him based on what he did at Derby, because he didn't do much. So Belvashwan says Mariano Diaz is that striker from Real Madrid, and he's awful. I have to do some more research on him. JD says we expect to have a solid summer transfer window, but would I expect any real improvements from existing players under Arteta? Arteta is good at player development. I mean, I think that, yes, players will get better under Arteta. I would expect to see Odegaard grow in confidence and become a better player. We're already seeing that Arteta is tasking him with scoring goals from midfield, which is something that we really struggle with, and is not something that Odegaard is necessarily regarded for, was regarded for at Real Madrid or at Real Sociedad. So I think players will get better. The team in general will get better under Arteta. So I would say Emile Smith-Rowe will get better. Pepe will get better. Odegaard will get better. Thomas Partey will definitely get better. I think Arteta is going to tap into the offensive aspect of his game, which is not something that he was able to really hone into or to improve at Atleti, because Simeone is very defensive naturally. So I think a lot of players will get better. Mohamed Chowdhury says, don't think there's many replacements for Xhaka. Arteta loves him. Plus, he's left-footed. You guys, I think that with Xhaka, he's going to be here. And like I said before, I think there will be one midfield introduction or midfield improvement. And if I had to guess, it would be bringing in Martin Odegaard rather than replacing or bringing in another deep lying midfielder, somebody to replace Xhaka. So I'm not desperate to replace Xhaka at this point. I'm desperate to get Odegaard as a permanent signing. And people may disagree with me, but I think to replace Xhaka, it's going to have to be a pretty spectacular player. He's been really good this season, so we're looking to improve, not just bring in somebody who is not Granit Xhaka because we don't like him, Okay, just a couple more, you guys. Velvashwan says, would I take Nico Barella from Inter Milan? He is a baller. I think he is a good player. Why would he leave Inter Milan to come to Arsenal? I think that's a big question. Would I take him? Maybe, but I think we're kind of stacked in those positions anyway. So would I take him in a fantasy world? Yes, but in reality, probably not. Renato Sanchez is available, but Renato Sanchez is also injury prone. So although I rate him, I think his injury record is something that we would need to take under consideration. And do we think that he could play in the Premier League? Okay, last one. Ruthless Gooner says, do I still play football? I do not. I played all the way up through college, and I am past or college/uni. I know that you guys call it uni. I played all the way through college, and I am past college at this point. I'm not going to tell you guys my age, but yeah, I don't play anymore. Hopefully when, we're out of COVID and all that kind of stuff, I can find like maybe like an adult league or something to play in. That would be cool. So you guys, that's going to be the end of the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I loved you guys in the chat. You guys were freaking awesome. You guys always are. The next show is going to be, it's actually going to be a combination of a post-match for Olympiacos / match preview for West Ham and Arsenal. So that's going to be on Friday. So look out for that. It's going to be around the same time. So yeah, make sure that you guys are subscribed to the channel and that you like this video before you leave. Share it to your social media so people can see the content. If you like it, maybe the people that you talk to on socials will like it as well. And I appreciate all of your guys' support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.